Have you ever felt that life is being unfair to you? Perhaps you worked hard but never got the results you deserved. Maybe you lost something valuable, faced financial problems, or watched your dreams fall apart overnight. During those moments, it is easy to believe that the darkness will never end. But life has a beautiful lesson that we often forget. Just as no storm lasts forever, no night lasts forever either. Every sunrise reminds us that hope always returns. Today's story is about an ordinary young man whose entire life changed in just a few hours. He lost everything he owned, yet what he discovered afterward became the greatest treasure of his life. The story. In a peaceful countryside village surrounded by green fields lived an elderly mother and her younger son. Their eldest son, Ayan, worked hundreds of kilometers away in a large city. Every morning before sunrise, Ayan woke up in his tiny rented room, offered his prayers, and left for the factory where he worked long shifts operating heavy machines. His salary was small. After paying his room rent and buying simple meals, very little money remained. But that never stopped him. Every month, he sent almost all of his earnings back to his village because his old mother depended on him, and his younger brother was still studying. His mother often told him over the phone, "My son, don't worry about us. Take care of yourself." Ayan always smiled and replied, "Ami, as long as you're happy, I have everything I need." His rented room was no bigger than a small bedroom. Inside it was an old cupboard, a single bed, a small fan, and a few clothes. To others it looked ordinary. To Ayan, it was home. One Thursday evening, the factory owner finally distributed everyone's monthly salary. Ayan held the envelope tightly in his hands. A smile appeared on his tired face. Tomorrow was Friday. He had already taken leave from work because he planned to visit his village after many months. He imagined buying sweets for his younger brother and medicines for his elderly mother. Back in his room, he carefully placed the money inside his cupboard. He packed his small travel bag and slept peacefully, excited to see his family the next morning. The next day, he left early for his factory to finish some remaining work before catching the evening bus. Throughout the day, he couldn't stop thinking about home. He imagined his mother waiting outside the house. He imagined his younger brother running toward him with a big smile. When his shift finally ended, he hurried back to his neighborhood. But as he turned into the street, he saw something that made his heart stop. People were gathered outside. Smoke still rose into the evening sky. Firefighters were leaving. His feet became heavy. Slowly, he walked closer. He saw it. His rented building had caught fire. His room was completely destroyed. Everything had turned into ashes. His clothes, his documents, his travel bag, and the salary he had worked an entire month to earn. For a few moments, Ayan couldn't speak. He stood silently, staring at the blackened walls. It felt as though someone had erased his entire life in a single afternoon. The landlord walked toward him with tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry, son," he said softly. "The fire spread too quickly. Nothing could be saved." Ayan nodded without saying a word. He wasn't angry. He wasn't shouting. He simply felt empty. That night, He had no room to sleep in, no money in his pocket, no clothes except the ones he was wearing. He couldn't even bring himself to call his mother because he knew she would worry. With slow, tired steps, he walked aimlessly through the streets until he reached a quiet park. He sat alone on an old wooden bench, his eyes filled with tears. For the first time in years, tears rolled down his face. "I have nothing left," he whispered. Just then, an elderly gardener walked toward him carrying a watering can. He looked at Ayan and asked gently, "My son, why are you sitting here alone?" Ayan told him everything. The old gardener listened quietly. When Ayan finished, the old man smiled and pointed toward a beautiful rose garden nearby. "Do you see those flowers?" Ayan nodded. "They weren't always this beautiful," the gardener said. "A few months ago, a terrible storm destroyed this entire garden. The flowers were broken. The branches had snapped. Many people told me to stop wasting my time because nothing would ever grow here again." The gardener smiled. "But every morning I came back. I cleaned the soil. I planted new seeds. I watered them every single day. I believed that life hidden beneath the ground was still alive." He looked directly into Ayan's eyes. "My son, your room burned. Your money burned. Your belongings burned. But tell me, did your honesty burn?" Ayan quietly replied, "No." "Did your hard work burn?" "No." "Did your skills burn?" "No." The gardener smiled. "Then you have lost less than you think. Money can be earned again. Clothes can be bought again. A house can be rebuilt. But a hard-working and honest heart is priceless." He continued, "Never judge your future by your present pain. Tonight feels endless, but have you ever seen a night that refused to end?" Ayan slowly looked toward the eastern sky. The first rays of dawn were beginning to appear. The gardener said softly, "Look, the darkness didn't leave because someone pushed it away. It left because its time was over. Every problem has its time. So does every blessing." Those words settled deep inside Ayan's heart. The next morning he returned to the factory. Instead of giving up, he worked harder than ever. When his manager learned about the fire, he was deeply moved by Ayan's determination. The factory workers collected money to help him. The company even arranged temporary accommodation for him. Months passed. Ayan saved money once again. He rented another room. He replaced everything he had lost. One weekend, he finally returned to his village. His elderly mother hugged him tightly. She noticed the tiredness in his eyes and asked, "My son, what happened?" Ayan told her the whole story. His mother smiled gently and held his hands. "My son, I prayed every day that Allah would protect your character before your wealth. Wealth comes and goes, but good character brings blessings wherever you go." Years later, Ayan became the supervisor of the same factory. New workers often came to him asking for advice. Whenever someone complained about failure, he simply smiled and said, "I once lost everything I owned in a single fire. But that fire couldn't burn my determination." And that made all the difference. Every morning before starting work, he looked at the rising sun and remembered the old gardener's words, "No night lasts forever." Moral of the story: life may take away your money, your possessions, or your plans, but if you keep your faith, your honesty, and your determination, you still possess the most valuable things in the world. Never give up because of one bad chapter. Every storm passes, every wound heals, every dark night comes to an end. Remember, no night lasts forever. The sunrise you are waiting for may be closer than you think.